Discover the incredible journey. 2026 Kickstarter launch stream revealing life-changing stories. Maya sat at the diner's counter, her eyes scanning the worn menu while the clatter of dishes filled the air around her. She poured another cup of coffee, her heart heavy but steady. Every penny counted as she scraped by to support her son Liam, an imaginative boy of 10 who saw stories in everything. He filled his notebook with dreams of filmmaking, convincing his mother to listen, even when her own dreams felt suffocated under the weight of day-to-day survival. The small town bustled with the excitement of the annual talent show. As whispers of performances circulated, Maya felt an unusual rush of hope. But hopes had a way of twisting into knots. People saw her as just the diner waitress too ordinary to capture the spotlight. Her kindness often overlooked. She wondered if she was meant to remain in the shadows of expectations and judgment. What if they laughed instead of cheered? Then, late one evening, after an exhausting shift, Maya's world cracked open during a chance encounter with Agnes, a storytelling poet who frequented the diner. "You have stories, Maya," Agnes insisted, echoing in Maya's mind long after she left. That night, as she tucked Liam into bed, a flicker of inspiration sparked. Could she tell her stories? Stories from a life of struggle and resilience that spoke to all of them? Perhaps the talent show was not just a stage, but a platform. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As talent show day approached, the headliner canceled, sending panic rippling through the community. But for Maya, this calamity transformed into a calling. She started telling her story's truths stitched together, complex emotions woven into moments of laughter and sorrow. "You've been through it all, Maya," the townspeople murmured, their skepticism fading into intrigue. Yet, the stakes grew ever higher. She wrestled with self-doubt, her estranged mother resurfacing like an unwanted specter. Confrontations about the past surfaced, igniting a storm of unresolved pain. Would speaking her truth heal their scars or reopen old wounds? The lines blurred between dread and hope each time they exchanged words. With every storytelling moment, Maya found herself and her voice. The stories transformed into something less about her, and more about every person in that town who had felt invisible. Just as she stood poised to take the stage, tears threatened to spill. What if this was her shot at reclaiming her life? At capturing not just her narrative, but the heart of a community waiting to hear? With a deep breath, she faced her fears. Could she finally embrace the light, the spotlight that once felt unbearable? The crowd's anticipation hummed like a live wire, and in that moment, all of her doubts collided with the weight of possibility. Would her voice resonate enough to heal not only her wounds, but also those of the town? Maya stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding as the bright lights felt like a lighthouse guiding her through a sea of uncertainty. The wooden floor creaked beneath her feet, a rhythmic reminder of the countless steps she'd taken toward this moment. She scanned the audience, faces from the diner, familiar yet distant, their expressions a raw mix of expectation and curiosity. She took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of anticipation. "Hi, everyone," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm Maya, and, well, I have stories to share." She paused, feeling a rush of warmth as she locked eyes with Liam, his wide smile and sparkling eyes radiating encouragement. With each word she spoke, the barriers that had long held her back began to crumble. Stories of her childhood, moments of joy intertwined with heartache, flowed out like a long-held breath. Tales of nights spent dreaming beneath the stars, her mother's laughter echoing in the background, quickly twisted into whispers of shadows and silence. The crowd began to lean in, pulled by the tide of her emotions, hanging on to every detail. I grew up believing that storytelling was for others, that only the extraordinary had something to say, she continued, nearly gasping. But life, my life, it's filled with stories that matter. Stories like this town's heartbeat. Like every single one of you. Each sentence was a stepping stone laid down for both her and the audience. Bridging the gap that had once felt insurmountable, she poured her heart out. She caught glimpses of connection. People nodded, some wiping tears from the corners of their eyes. Maya's heart swelled, realizing that she wasn't just telling her story but echoing their unspoken fears, their dreams, and their struggles. Then came the moment that would define her narrative. It wasn't until recently that I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I deserved to be seen. Her voice trembled as the words hung in the air, raw and vulnerable. Silence wrapped around the crowd, and for the first time, she sensed the weight of her past catalyzing something palpable in the room. The spotlight felt warm, not scorching. It was as though the universe had shifted, whispering that this was her moment to reclaim the light, to dispel the shadows that had lurked in the corners all her life. But just as things began to flow seamlessly, doubts bubbled up. Could she truly heal from the scars of the past? Would she find clarity in her voice? Or would it crack under pressure? The last thread of her story unraveled. We're often told to keep quiet, to blend in, but that's not living. I will no longer be the person in the background. We can't just exist, we must be fully present. The words ignited a storm of emotions. She could feel the swell of energy radiating from that small town, a sense of unity creeping in. Just as she prepared for the final words, a sudden rustling at the back caught her attention. From the shadows, someone stepped forward. Her heart skipped a beat as recognition swept over her. This was the figure from her past. Her mother. A wisp of dread surged through her. Battling with the newfound empowerment rushing through her veins, Maya's breath quickened. What would happen now? Was her moment of transformation slipping away? Would she have to face her past? Or could she continue with the glimmer of hope she now held so close? The crowd held its breath, and with it, Maya felt the weight of her story shifting yet again. Would she dive deeper into the depths of her truth, or retreat into the safety of her past? The answer hung in the balance, and for her, the moment of truth had only just begun. Maya's heart raced, and time felt suspended as she confronted the ghost of her past standing at the back of the dimly lit auditorium. Her mother, the woman she'd spent years trying to understand, stood there with a look etched in both concern and defiance. The tension was electric, swirling around them, binding her to a past she thought she had left behind. "Mom?" The words slipped from her lips, barely above a whisper. She hadn't expected to see her here tonight, her first step into the light. The audience's expectancy shifted, now curious about the unfolding drama, their eyes darting between Maya and the woman she had long battled with in her heart. For a moment, everything blurred. The lights dimmed around her, allowing the weight of the moment to settle heavily on her shoulders. The comfortable buzz from the diner folks seemed distant, drowned out by the pounding of her own heartbeat. "Why are you here?" Maya finally managed, feigning strength while insecurity gnawed at her stomach. Her mother took a tentative step forward, hesitation stark in her posture, yet resolve glimmered in her eyes. "I came to hear your stories, to listen to you." The words floated through the air, each syllable heavy with untold years. Maya felt a swell of conflicting emotions. Could she share her truth with the very person who had shaped much of her pain? She looked out into the audience, seeing the faces that resonated with her words, the understanding, the empathy. They were there for her, and she clung to that support. "I have stories, yes," she replied, swallowing hard, "but I don't know if you're ready to hear them." The silence that draped over the room was palpable. She could feel a mix of compassion and expectancy from the crowd, as they leaned in closer as if to bridge the gap between Maya and the specter of her childhood. Her mother squared her shoulders. "No one ever told me how to listen, Maya, but I'm here now and I'm trying. Please let me understand." Maya took a deep breath, feeling the familiar pain rise within her years of longing for validation, for understanding. This was what she had always craved. But was it too late? It was as if she stood at the crossroads, her emerging voice intertwined with the voice of someone who had hurt her. "You made it hard for me to be seen," she replied, her voice trembling. "You didn't know how to see me." How to be present. You taught me that love comes with strings. And her voice broke, emotions boiling beneath the surface. She wasn't just speaking to her mother. She was speaking to herself, reclaiming her narrative, piece by piece. I didn't matter. I thought. Liam shifted in his seat, sensing the emotional tide rising. A few in the audience began to reach for tissue, tears marking the connections forming in the room. Maya could feel the swell of support around her. The weight became lighter. I want to change that story, she exclaimed, the conviction building within her. I refuse to carry that darkness with me anymore. A small murmur of agreement echoed from the audience, fueling her courage. Maya's vision narrowed on her mother, whose eyes shimmered with regret and something else, hope. Please hear my stories. Hear them all, Maya urged, her voice steady now. It felt liberating to finally invite her mother into the heart of her journey. And maybe, just maybe, we can both start anew. Every breath she took shifted the energy of the crowd. Suspense hung in the air as small conversations erupted around the auditorium. Would her mother step forward fully? Or was this just another delay in the healing they both needed? Maya's next move could change everything, pulling them both back into the light. But would her mother take that step with her? Just then, a single tear rolled down her mother's cheek, and Maya felt a flicker of something. Was it the spark of reconciliation? As she stood before her audience, this moment wasn't just hers anymore. It was theirs too. The question lingered, heavy yet hopeful. Could this night forge a new path, or would she remain tethered to the past? The answer loomed. Maya could almost taste it. Maya held her breath, her mother's tear glistening like a fragile promise under the stage lights. The silence enveloped them, teetering on the edge of possibility. Every heartbeat rang in her ears, echoing the weight of their shared history. The crowd sensed the shift in energy, their collective hopes hanging in the balance. Her mother began, her voice cracking under the strain of emotion. It was the first time Maya realized that this moment wasn't hers alone. Somewhere deep within her, a small part of her mother was fighting, too, torn between the past and a desire for healing. I've hurt you, Maya. I know that, and I'm sorry. Those words hung in the air like a fragile thread connecting them. For a heartbeat, Maya felt anger rising, a familiar itch demanding to be scratched. But then she glimpsed the sincerity in her mother's eyes. There was no more room for old resentments tonight. Maya exhaled, allowing a wave of relief to wash over her. Do you really mean that? She asked softly, vulnerability seeping into her voice. She had to know. I do, her mother replied, her voice steadier now. I've spent years building walls to protect myself, thinking you would be safe behind them. I didn't realize I was shutting you out. The audience buzzed with emotion, exchanging glances as they witnessed unguarded revelations unfold. Maya could almost hear their hearts beating in unison with hers. The familiarity of those painful years hung in the air, yet so did the aroma of possibility. What if we take this step together? Maya suggested, her heart racing again. What if tonight is not just about our past, but about creating a future where we both can be seen? That sounds beautiful, her mother whispered, reaching towards Maya, her outstretched hand trembling with hope and uncertainty. Maya blinked back tears. This was it. The moment she needed, the bridge built with words that could either shatter or bind them. Let us tell the stories that matter. Together, the audience's breath caught in unison, feeling the gravity of the words exchanged. And just as her mother's hand brushed against Maya's, a sudden clap of thunder sounded outside. The lights flickered, casting shadows that danced around the dim auditorium. A murmur spread through the crowd, a mix of concern and excitement. Just as the lights steadied again, Maya's mother stepped forward, fully embracing the moment despite the chaos. I'm ready, she said, her voice steady and clear now. But it's not just about what I have to say, Maya. I want to hear your truth. I want to share it all, Maya declared, emboldened by her mother's acceptance. The days I felt invisible, the nights I cried alone, and the moments of joy when I began to find my voice. The crowd leaned in, their eyes shimmering with anticipation, and suddenly, a realization washed over Maya. This was no longer just about her and her mother, it was about everyone present. It was about shared struggles and stories that craved to be told, connections waiting to be made. "Let us gather stories from this crowd," she exclaimed, inspiration surging through her. "Everyone has something to share, from hurt to hope. We can embrace our truths together." A ripple of agreement surged through the auditorium, igniting faces with excitement. But before she could expand on her vision, a loud crash echoed outside, jolting them all. The thunderstorm had transformed into something stronger, as blinding lightning sliced through the darkness, illuminating Maya's face, determined and fierce. Her heart raced as she glanced at the shifting crowd and back to her mother. Would they truly embark on this journey together? Could she lead this transformative moment not just for herself, but for everyone looking for connection? In that fleeting moment, she felt the weight of anticipation and fear. What could happen next? Would they all rise as one? Or would the darkness shatter this fragile light? The choices lay ahead, glowing like embers waiting to ignite. And as the storm raged outside, Maya resolved to carry her story forward, daring to hope that, together, they could weather any storm. Would the audience join them in this journey of vulnerability and healing? Or would they retreat once more into silence? Maya took a deep breath, the thunder raging outside echoing the tumult within her. Her heart was a drum, each beat urging her to reach deeper, to connect stronger, to invite everyone there into the circle of her truth. She glanced at her mother, whose eyes sparkled with tears, but also with a shimmer of newfound courage. "Together, let us create a space that feels safe to share," Maya said, her voice steadying. The audience was hushed, captivated. They hung on her every word, waiting for direction. "We all have stories we've tucked away because we feared they wouldn't be understood. But tonight, let us change that." She caught sight of faces in the crowd, reflecting a blend of hope and hesitance. And something deep inside her swelled with gratitude for the souls willing to open just a bit. A woman in the front row shifted nervously, her hands clasped tightly. Maya locked eyes with her, a silent invitation hanging between them. "I want you to raise your hand if you feel comfortable sharing a piece of your story," Maya urged, her heart pounding. "Whether it's a moment of loss, triumph, or even just a small lesson learned on your path, it matters." The air crackled with anticipation as a few hands slowly went up in the audience. One by one, more followed. The tension transformed into something lighter, like a lift of fog in the early morning. The first speaker stepped forward, a young man whose voice trembled as he began. "I used to hide my feelings. I was afraid that if I shared, no one would care." Each word seemed to pull the audience closer, drawing them into a shared experience of vulnerability. As he unfolded his story, Maya could see people tearing up, nodding in recognition. And as he spoke, Maya felt a sense of power. This was no longer just her voice echoing against the auditorium walls. It was a chorus of raw emotions. The more they shared, the more the audience breathed life into each other's narratives. Next, an elderly woman stood, looking regal with her silver hair shining under the dim light. "There are great joys in aging," she said, her voice warm, "and also deep sorrows. My husband passed away last year, and I thought that was the end. But I found a community that supports me. They helped me discover that I still have so much to give." Maya's heart swelled as the crowd erupted into soft applause, their appreciation not just for the woman's bravery, but for her resilience. Each story unfolded like petals in springtime, a celebration of life's complexities. As the evening wore on, laughter and tears intermingled like two rivers flowing into one another. Hearts that had been guarded began to soften. Maya and her mother exchanged glances filled with wonder and pride, their earlier tension simmering into warmth. It was a moment of connection that transcended the stage. But just as the last speaker finished, and the crowd cheered, a heavy rumble sounded. The lights flickered ominously above them, then cut out entirely. A wave of gasps flooded the darkened room. "Maya!" her mother called, a hint of panic in her voice. "Are we okay?" Maya's heart dropped into her stomach, but she remembered the energy they had built. "We're okay," she called back, trying to sound confident. "Let us keep this going." The darkness was unsettling, but in that moment, it also felt strangely empowering. They had lit a fire of connection that no storm could extinguish. With a snap of her fingers, she whispered, "Stay with me. We can be the light for each other." With that, she began to lead the crowd in a rhythmic chant, blending their voices into a powerful anthem. One by one, individuals joined in creating a shield of sound wrapping around them. But as they chanted, the storm outside flared fiercely. Could they really hold this light together when faced with such darkness? Would their collective voices be enough to withstand what was looming? As the first flashes of lightning breached the horizon, Maya understood this moment was but a passage, a test of their resolve. What would happen when the storm finally broke? Would the bonds they had forged emerge unbroken, or would they find their truths scattered like leaves in the wind? With the thunder crashing outside, the darkness became a canvas for their voices. Maya felt a surge of energy and passion as the chant echoed through the room. The words took on a life of their own, rising and falling like waves driven by the storm. "Together we are strong," they sang, their collective hope battling the howling wind outside. As the sound filled the auditorium, it created an atmosphere rich with unity. The audience, still lingering in uncertainty, seemed to find comfort in the resonance of shared stories. Here, in the dark, they were all in it together. Maya's eyes flickered across the faces illuminated by the distant flashes of lightning. She spotted the woman from earlier, her hands still clasped but now resting on her heart. There was strength in that vulnerability, and Maya decided to build on it. "Let us take a moment to breathe together," she suggested, lowering her voice slightly, embracing the growing intimacy. "Inhale and exhale, let that breath connect us." The audience complied, a wave of synchronized breaths washing over them. With each inhale, they drew in hope. With each exhale, they released doubt, fear, and exhaustion. It was a simple act, yet it reverberated deeply. Maya's heart raced as she felt the atmosphere shift, like the first hints of dawn after a long night. It was tangible, a warm glow spreading across the room. She could see the faces transform, some appearing calmer, others still racked with uncertainty, but all willing to participate in this journey. Suddenly, a voice rose above the chants. A womaness, filled with raw emotion, walked out from the shadows, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I lost my sister last year," she began, her voice breaking slightly. "I was consumed by grief, feeling so alone, but tonight I hear you all, and I realize I'm not alone anymore." Maya held her breath, every heart in the room attuned to this moment. That openness sparked a ripple effect. One by one, more voices joined in, each story layered with pain and resilience. The chants faded into a soft echo, and the stories flowed, unfiltered, revealing truths that trembled with emotion. A man stood up, shaking but resolute. "I've been struggling with addiction and hiding it for years, afraid of judgment. But I want to believe in change." The room felt more alive with each revelation, a web of connection woven through shared humanity. Thunder rumbled, but instead of fear, a fierce determination flickered in Maya. The storm outside endured, but so did the warmth of their stories, lighting up the chasm of darkness. "We are the light tonight," she shouted, inviting the crowd to respond, to feel that strength. And then, when it seemed the storm was at its fiercest, the lights flickered back on just for a moment. A brilliant spill of light illuminated their faces, gathered with fresh compassion, cementing their bond. But just as quickly, they flickered off again. Gasps echoed, and a tense silence settled in. Maya's heart raced. Would hope collapse under uncertainty, or could they cling to the fire that had ignited in their spirits? It's in that silence, as the storm howled louder, that Maya knew the real test was about to begin. Would they be able to hold onto the hope that had brought them together, or would they retreat into the shadows with the storm? "What will we choose?" Maya cried out, the question hanging in the air, a form of light shining in its own right. Would they choose hope, even when the lightning struck? And then, just as the first rain began to pour against the building, she felt a new energy crackle through the crowd, their voices intertwining once more. preparing for a moment she knew would change everything. The silence was electric, charged with anticipation. Maya could hear her own heartbeat, a drum echoing in the stillness. The rain started to pound against the roof, each droplet a little reminder of the storm's ferocity outside. But inside, among this unexpected gathering, there was a different kind of storm brewing, a storm of courage and truth. "Let us hold on to this moment," she urged, trying to keep the energy flowing. "Let us share our light even when the darkness threatens to take over." In the front row, the woman who had spoken about her sister nodded fiercely. "I don't want to hide my sadness anymore. I want to honor her by living fully." She lifted her chin, determination mixed with sorrow reflecting in her eyes. Her words were like sparks igniting something in others that had been waiting to break free. Another voice emerged from the shadows, this time a young man with tangled hair and a nervous smile. "I've been struggling with my identity," he confessed, his voice trembling but growing steadier with every word. "It's hard to feel accepted when you don't fit in. But hearing you, knowing I'm not alone, empowers me." Maya could feel the weight of each shared story, piercing through the fear that had gripped them moments before. The boundaries that had kept them apart crumbled like brittle paper in the rain. Each voice, each testament, added fuel to their collective flame. With every revelation, the connection deepened, forming a tapestry of experiences that no storm could unravel. One by one, the stories unfurled raw and powerful. A woman spoke of battling chronic illness, struggling against a body that felt foreign to her. "But I'm here," she shouted, voice ringing with fierceness. "I'm fighting, and I won't be defined by my pain." As each revelation flew across the room, Maya felt her own heart swell. The stories, imbued with genuine emotion, found a way to spark a warmth she did not know was possible in such darkness. These were not just voices. They were echoes of resilience, axes of courage aimed at cutting through despair. "Every story we share is a thread, weaving us closer together," Maya said, stepping forward. "Together we can create a shelter, a safe place to breathe, to heal, to live." Suddenly, they heard a loud bang that echoed through the auditorium, causing several to jump. The fear momentarily threatened to seep back in, but she raised her hands. "It's just the storm. What we're building is stronger." With a deep breath, she continued, "Imagine what we could do if we don't let fear win. What if we face the storm together, not just tonight but every day after?" The audience began to nod, murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. Maya noticed the woman from the front row raise her hand. "I want to organize a support group," she exclaimed. "For everyone who feels lost, we can be each other's strength." At that moment, it was as if a wave of hope surged through the crowd, gathering everyone closer together. Their voices crescendoed, united once more. "Together, we are unstoppable," they chanted, spirited energy flowing in sync with the pounding rain outside. And just like that, the room lit up again, this time, not just from the sporadic flickers of the lights, but from the brightness blooming in their hearts. Maya's eyes sparkled as she watched the transformation taking place before her. Fears were dissolving into laughter and joy. Still, as the storm raged on, Maya noticed a flicker of doubt in the back of the room. Someone hadn't stood up yet. Someone who needed to share but was too afraid. As she scanned the crowd, she felt a tug on her heart. "Whoever you are, it's okay to share. Your voice matters too," she spoke softly, her words cutting through the noise. But it was too late before she could grasp the tension. The lights flickered ominously again, and everything plunged into darkness. A chill raced through the auditorium. Had they come so far just to be plunged back into fear? Maya's mind raced. Could they keep the flicker alive in the void? "Who will lead us from the dark?" she whispered into the black. The question hung heavy, a beacon amid uncertainty. Would someone answer? Would fear silence them all? As thunder boomed, she held her breath, waiting for a voice to break the darkness once more. Maya's heart pounded in the darkness. The silence felt thick enough to cut, wrapping around her tightly. She could sense the collective breath and anxious pause, the hesitation before a leap. And then, as if a switch flipped, A voice broke through the void. "I'm here." A trembling voice called out from the back, raw and unsteady. All eyes turned in unison, straining to see the source of the words. A silhouette emerged cautiously, stepping into the dim light. It was a young woman, her face half hidden beneath unruly curls. Her hands fidgeted nervously, but her eyes burned with an undeniable flame. "I've been afraid to say any of this," she continued, voice quaking but growing stronger. "But I can't let fear control me anymore." Maya felt a rush of warmth. Here was the voice that had been missing, the thread that needed to be woven back into the tapestry. "We're all ears," she encouraged, her heart swelling at the bravery radiating from the young woman. "I lost my brother last year," the girl confessed, eyes glistening with barely contained tears. "He was my best friend, my rock. And I didn't know how to keep going after that." Her words fell heavily, echoing the shared pain in the room. "I thought if I talked about it, I would be stuck in the sadness. But if I don't talk, I feel like I'm drowning." The crowd held its breath, vulnerability hanging thick in the air. "You're not drowning. You're reaching for us," Maya murmured, feeling the collective sorrow blend with a flicker of hope. "I want to honor him, but I've lost sight of how. I feel so lost," she whispered, her voice faltering. That was it. That was the point. Maya had hoped for a connection that could draw together light from dark experiences. "You're not alone," Maya replied, her voice steadier now, almost melodic against the storm raging outside. "We are here, and together we'll help you find your way. Your brother would want you to live fully, as you said." With every pause, the tension in the room shifted. More hands raised, voices began to overlap, stories spilling out one after another, each more profound than the last. The warmth of shared experiences illuminated the space, melting the remnants of fear that lingered as each person spoke. The darkness seemed to lift slightly. An older gentleman shared about losing his wife, his voice a tapestry of grief and resilience. "Love doesn't disappear when people do," he said, glancing at the young woman. "It transforms. We carry their spirits with us." The thunder outside was now a distant drum, overshadowed by the beating of hearts joining together. Each voice built a bridge, leading them away from despair and toward understanding, acceptance, and healing. And then it happened. The lights flickered back to life, dim but intact. The beams illuminated the faces of those unified, and Maya gasped at the sight. The auditorium was filled with light, and the glowing faces held expressions of determination and hope. They were all lifted, standing tall in the glow, declaring their commitment to one another. "Together we'll create something strong here," Maya said, her heart racing. "Let us turn our pain into purpose. A support group? Yes. But let us build a community that extends beyond this night. Let us help each other face every storm ahead." Cheers erupted, and a wave of applause cascaded through the room. People rose to their feet, energy revitalized, drawing courage from the space they created together. As the energy swirled around the room, Maya's gaze crossed with the young woman from the back. A smile broke through the tears on her face, and in that moment, a bond forged from shared struggles, dreams, and unshed tears was born. But just as they began to rejoice, a distant crash sounded, louder than anything before. The crowd stilled, eyes wide with panic. What was happening outside? What could this mean for their newly ignited flame? The storm was far from over. Something new was brewing, and they all felt it. Would they find the strength to face whatever was coming? Maya's heart raced as the unexpected crash hung in the air like a thunderclap. The vibrant energy that had just filled the room turned to a thick kind of dread. Faces went from hopeful and determined to wide-eyed and fearful. She could see the ripples of uncertainty cascading around her as murmurs began to rise, some filled with worry, others with confusion. "Stay here," someone shouted from the back, and the crowd instinctively huddled closer together, unified by a common fear. Maya's mind was racing. What could that sound have been? An accident? A warning? There were no answers. The tension was palpable, each person caught in their own whirlwind of thoughts. Maya clasped her hands tighter, feeling the energy shifting once more. She needed to act. "Everyone, listen," she called out, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "We need to focus. Whatever is happening outside doesn't matter as much as us right now. We've just found each other. Let us hold on to that." A few heads nodded, eyes misting over with the shared realization that they had forged something special that night, a connection that transcended the looming storm. The young woman who had first spoken took a deep breath and stepped closer to Maya. "We can't let fear win," she said, her voice stronger now. "We've bared our souls. We can face anything." The sentiment rallied within the group, and slowly, the collective anxiety began to dissolve. Maya felt the warmth return as people exchanged glances and small smiles of reassurance. They were together. They could do this. Just then, the doors swung open, and a blast of wind swept into the auditorium. It was accompanied by the sound of more crashing, this time closer, as if something or someone were trying to break through. The anxiety surged again, though this time it was mixed with a determination that Maya could feel. "Let us move," Maya urged, her voice filled with urgency. "We don't know what's out there, but we can't let it stop us. We have to stand together." Spurred on by her words, the crowd sprang into action. They huddled together near the exit, forming a barrier of hope against whatever darkness lurked ahead. As they made their way toward the door, the storm outside grew fiercer. Rain pounded thick against the windows, and the sounds of the world outside felt strangely distant, as if it were a different universe. Yet inside, their little community felt vivid and alive. Each member was fueled by a singular resolve. "Do you think it's just the storm?" one man asked, glancing faintly toward the door, the fear edging back into his voice. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," Maya said firmly, her gaze locking with the young woman. "We'll transform this fear into strength." Suddenly, the lights flickered again, this time showing shadows dancing wildly against the walls. The crowd gasped, and Maya could sense their hearts quickening in synchrony. Just then, a loud bang echoed through the auditorium, and the doors rattled violently in their frames. Maya's heart dropped, but she shook her head as if to rid herself of the doubt. "We can't turn back now. We've come too far. Whatever comes next, we can handle it." With that, she pushed the door open a crack. The storm whipped at her face, and she beckoned for everyone to follow. They gathered around her, hearts pounding but emboldened by their shared connection. As they stepped out into the chaos, a sense of camaraderie enveloped them. In that moment, standing together on the brink of the unknown, they were more than survivors, they were a united force. But just as they took the first step into the swirling tempest, a silhouette emerged from the shadows, startling them all into silence. Who or what was that? Their journey was far from over. Would they find the strength in the storm, or would it tear them apart? Maya's heart thundered in her chest as the silhouette took shape, emerging from the darkness like a specter brought to life. The crowd huddled closer, fear gnawing at the edges of their newfound courage. But something shifted, an undeniable bond pulsed among them. They were ready for this confrontation. They had shared their stories, stood tall, and refused to hide. "Maya?" The voice broke through the storm. Soft yet somehow strong, it was her mother. The realization hit like an electric jolt. In the chaos of the night, Maya hadn't considered that her mother might take this step, allowing light to finally filter into their murky past. "Mom!" Maya gasped, stepping forward, feeling the protective warmth of her community pulse beside her. "Why are you here?" "I wanted to face this together with you," her mother replied, her voice trembling but not without resolve. The crowd gasped again, sensing the emotional weight of this moment. For years, Maya had longed for this connection, yet the uncertainty lingered. "Together we can weather any storm," Maya proclaimed, anchoring herself to the thought. She glanced around at the faces surrounding her, reassurance reflecting back in their eyes. "Let us hold hands," a voice suggested from the back. One by one, the audience extended their hands, forming a living chain of solidarity. The warmth traveled through the line, filling Maya's heart with gratitude. It became a symbol of their collective strength, not just a defense against whatever lay before them, but a celebration of the vulnerability they had shared. As the silhouettes stepped into the light, the storm roared outside, but within their circle, a calm settled in. What emerged was a familiar face, Agnes, the storyteller from the diner. Instead of fear, a smile spread across her face, cutting through the tension. "Maya, you've done it," Agnes exclaimed, her eyes gleaming with pride. The crowd's breath caught, surprised by the gentle figure before them. "You've brought everyone together," warmed hearts against the chill of fear. Maya felt a fresh wave of hope wash over her. "This is more than just me. We're here because we dared to open up, to connect like never before. And we're not done," Agnes replied, eyes twinkling. "Let us share what we've built. Let us honor the stories that brought us here, for others to feel the strength within them too." The audience erupted in agreement, their voices overlapping in excitement. They were more than individuals thrust together by circumstance. They were a community, ready to face whatever storms came their way. "Each tale we tell is a beacon," Maya shouted, feeling the energy build. "Every voice can pierce through darkness. Who's ready to share what you've learned tonight?" Hands flew up in response, eager voices calling forth their tales. The storm raged outside, but each story acted like a shield, unraveling the fear tethered within them. Maya stood with her mother by her side as stories wove around them, a tapestry rich with resilience, love, and every dynamic texture of life, point one after another. They spoke of overcoming despair, of reigniting dreams once dimmed, of connections born of shared struggles. There were stories of loss, heartache, and unwavering hope, a collective tribute to the power of vulnerability. As the final voice filled the air, a profound silence enveloped them, filled with unspoken promise. The storm outside, while fierce, felt distant now. Together, they had dispelled the shadows, embracing a buoyant sense of purpose. Maya knew something had fundamentally shifted. She turned to her mother, their eyes locking. "You see, Mom, we can weather the storms together. Every voice matters." With a subtle nod, her mother squeezed Maya's hand. "It's only the beginning," she whispered. They stepped back, allowing the crowd to bask in the light they had created. Laughter echoed, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Their newfound community had sparked a fire of change, one that would ripple out, touching lives beyond this moment. And as Maya gazed out into the faces filled with courage, she understood. This night had marked the end of hiding. They had carved a path toward healing together. The storm would indeed pass, but the memories, the connections forged, and the stories shared would remain like a sturdy foundation, ready to support them through future downpours. This was not an ending, it was a beginning. Moving forward, empowered as a community, they would continue to lift one another. Maya smiled, heart full, ready for the next chapter. And as the storm began to dwindle, a shared declaration rose through the crowd, a mantra the world would come to know. Together, we are unstoppable. Now, this is your moment to join the journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this emotional journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative power of community and connection. Your support means the world.